Folks, this is Boston College. Nothing comes easy. Bill O'Brien's got a few roadblocks ahead of him. They're going to make things pretty challenging.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. So, last couple weeks, we have been nothing but a sea of positivity about the new hire, Bill O'Brien, as the new head coach. And there, it's Boston College, and you got the coach that you wanted, the coach that everyone thought this is the best coach that BC could get after Jeff Hafley kind of left them in the lurch. He definitely left them in the lurch. But also, with this being Boston College, this isn't going to be easy. And I hope that Bill O'Brien realizes that when he took this job, that there's some challenges ahead of him. And I'm not just today's episode is not to look at the roster right now and say, oh, this guy, there's a deficiency in the linebacking unit. This is big picture stuff that we're going to look at today. We're going to look at some big obstacles that are going to make things hard for Bill O'Brien as he takes over the head coaching job at Boston College, and also look at maybe what he can do to fix each of these issues. So it's an obstacle and a pathway out in each one. To kick things off, the one thing that is obviously a big storyline right now is the NIL. NIL is name, image, and likeness. If you don't know what that is, you've been living under a rock. It's basically what allows players to get paid. The newest thing right now is that EA Sports game that's paying each athlete, 11,000 players, $600 to use their name, image, and likeness in it. They also get a free copy of the game. Now, NIL is much bigger than $600 in a video game. It's, cars, it's money. And for BC, it's finding a way to do all of this within the confines of how they are setting up their school, how the school's set up with Men and Women for Others, all that good stuff. And how is BC doing that? Through Friends of the Heights. Now, things are not going to always be easy for BC in this NIL world. There's going to be teams that are going to try to poach players off of your roster. We've seen this a number of times already with Zay Flowers, Donovan Azaraku, Christian Mahogany, basketball, Quinton Post. There's other teams that are going to spend, they've got obscene amounts of money, and they're going to try to get players off of you. So far for BC, they haven't had a player of a star caliber that's been poached. You've seen guys like Josh DeBerry, there's a few other guys I don't have them off the top of my head that I think were NIL guys that left. But it was nothing that was like earth-shattering when it happened. Bill O'Brien is going to hopefully bring in big name guys, some guys that he's going to develop into players that you're going to be excited to watch. Now, his deal is how is he going to be able to raise the money to keep these guys here? The NIL program at Boston College is still low. It's not where it needs to be. Now, Friends of the Heights, if that's the NIL collective that's around Boston College, announced, and I forget who it was, that they raised $3 million for football this year. That's good. That's a good start. But I think they can do more because BC is never going to be a team that pays recruits. And honestly, if you're reading like On3 or these other publications about NIL valuations of recruits, most of those numbers are bogus. The only players that are getting paid right off the bat are like elite edge rushers, elite quarterbacks that BC would never ever get anyways. Arch Manning is not would as a high school senior would never come to Boston College. Quinn Ewers would never come to Boston College. Some of these wide receivers like Marvin Harrison Jr. and other 5-stars that are out there. Don't be silly. They're never coming here. That being said, you can still recruit and you can still get guys here. You got to keep them here with that NIL money. So Bill O'Brien has got to be able to continue to be able to basically do a role that Jeff Hafley seemed pretty pissed off about, which was being a fundraiser. He has to be able to use his and hopefully he'll have a staff to do this for him and he won't have to do it himself, but be able to raise money, be able to be, to get that money from, donors and the rich people that are associated with Boston College. BC's got plenty of them that can keep the football team afloat. Because the last thing that BC needs to do is fall behind in that piece, in that part of the area of landscape in college football. Because NIL is basically a Wild West right now. And with the ruling that we just saw with Tennessee and Virginia Tech, is it Virginia Tech? There was a current NIL deal that went to the courts, and they ruled in favor of the schools, basically saying that they can't do anything to stop NIL right now. NIL can just continue to go unabated. So for now, that's going to be a major obstacle for Bill O'Brien. For a school like Boston College, it doesn't have, a program like USC or Texas or any of these schools, and they never will. BC needs to get their program up to where their peer schools are at. And they're getting closer, but they need to get better. That's one obstacle in front of Bill O'Brien. Next, recruiting. Now, Bill O'Brien has said that recruiting in New England is going to be a priority for him. He said he did the same thing that Steve Addazio said with the build a wall around New England thing, which kind of makes me queasy. But truth be told, he's got to be able to get Boston College in the door in some of these recruits. Now, you're going to look at the class of 2025. That's the next upcoming recruiting class, which makes me feel really old. And you're going to see some local names and go, whoa, why did BC not miss out on some of these kids? Blake Herbert and Will, quarterback from Central Catholic. I think he's playing in Connecticut now. Will Black from Connecticut. There's another offensive lineman from Connecticut. Why isn't BC in on all these guys? Well, Bill O'Brien is playing catch up again. That being said, he's got to be able to he's got to get this program back up in terms of recruiting. Whatever Jeff Hafley said as he left, his last year, he was in preservation mode. And he kind of said it, but you knew. He didn't have to recruit because he was just going to hammer the transfer portal because he knew if they stunk, he was gone. So Bill O'Brien now can go back to bringing in more developmental guys that can fit into our system and get BC back up to a higher level in recruiting. Get them out of, I think, were they 94th? And get them back into the 40s. Take steps, right? Because if you look at some of the areas that BC has been notoriously good at recruiting, Ohio, New England, they've struggled of late. Ohio, I feel like they haven't done anything in. And New England, it felt like, there was years where Steve Addazio was doing it, but Jeff Hafley was central CM and basically nothing else. So they need to get all of those recruiting levels back up. And in a moment, I'm going to continue talking about recruiting and what other things I think BC needs to do, and maybe some obstacles they need to avoid in order to be successful on the recruiting trail. We'll get into that in just a moment. Now, if you are a fan of going to the movies, to go to theater, going to games, concerts, you name it, Gametime has got you covered. I am a huge fan of Gametime. I've used it. It's where I would go if I was going to go to another show soon. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, major comedy shows, and theater events. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and the best. Holy moly, AJ. Best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Now, as I've said, You can go, say you want to go to a Celtics game. You're ready to go see the C's on that parquet. You want to get close to the parquet. You want to see the sweat on Al Horford's head. You can get your best tickets. You can see where you're going to get them, and you know exactly how much you're going to spend. There's no hidden fees, and then when you lock it in, there's no like hidden fees as well. So get into Game Time right now. Download the app and use promo code Locked On for $20 off your purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black. I'm the editor and publisher of Eagle Insider. We have a ton. We're talking recruiting right now. I've got a ton of news up there. I have official visitors. I have all our national guys catching on with BC players, BC recruits that are coming on campus. So you're getting a full army of experts telling you everything that's going on with BC. Plus, we got Skip McCarty talking baseball. We've got Beacon Street Ball talking basketball, BC hockey blogger. I have assembled an army, my Avengers for BC sports. If you want the best analysis, you're going to want to come to our site because we have top-notch analytics, including the amazing Mitch Wolf, who's doing Bill O'Brien film breakdown, which you don't want to miss. Come over to Eagle Insider right now, sign up. So we're talking recruiting. Now, locally, you look at some of the elite recruits in this area, they're always being poached, whether it's Clemson, Michigan, Notre Dame, Michigan, Georgia, Michigan, a lot of the big schools, including Michigan, have been, eating BC's lunch in terms of taking top level recruits and bringing them out. BC, I don't think will ever. They should be able to battle every now and then for an elite recruit, and they've got to be able to win them. BC's the way that they've been playing have not been able to do that because they don't have like a portfolio to show a kid like Gerby Lambert, who's an offensive lineman from Catholic Memorial, 4-star, almost a 5-star, was down to BC and Notre Dame. BC lost out because BC stunk. Basically, that was the case. Bill O'Brien's got to win, and he's got to end that cycle. And that's an obstacle. That's not easy to do. To stop, like, to get good recruits, you have to win, but you need to get good recruits to win. So BC's got to figure out how to stop that. They've got to get, get Thomas Castellanos and that offense clicking so you win 7 or 8 games. That should help. But recruiting needs to improve. He needs a staff to do it, and I feel like his new the way to get around this obstacle is that he's getting more support from the school to be able to get around those issues. I think that's going to be a big deal. Next, an obstacle that has been plaguing Boston College forever is playing. I said fifth fiddle on the YouTube graphic here. I mean, what are they, like 7th, 8th fiddle? BC is beyond the back page of the news. As much as the Globe and Herald, they love to have their guy, a story here and there. You'll see, like, after a big win, Trevor Haas having an article, or Rich Thompson here and there. But let's be real, folks. Look at what Trevor has to do. Trevor has to cover like 8 different teams because the BC beat is not important. That's the way BC is viewed in the Boston area. That's why no one covers BC as a full-time job. It's just not there. So for Bill, he's got to bring a level of excitement because you're never going to get past the Celtics, the Patriots, the Bruins, and the Red Sox. It's just never going to happen. But you can get yourself into the local conversation, and it's happened before. Obviously, Doug Flutie is the gold standard, right? We all know the story that they had to move all the games off campus to Foxborough because the interest in that team was so high. Doug Flutie, I don't know if he's just a once in a lifetime talent, but he's pretty generational, right? But you go down to like Matt Ryan. You even go to Andre Williams. He had some big games too. But you got to be able to start winning and winning consistently. That's what's going to take. Again, it's with all of this, it's like winning, right? to get people to notice you, to be able to get people to turn off a terrible Patriots game. I mean, the Patriots stink right now, so it's a perfect time to jump on it. But you have to show them a good product. And honestly, like last year with BC, I as much as I love to get fans, and I have friends that are Lowell fans and Rhode Island fans, and none of them went to BC. I can get them to tailgates, I can get them, but I can't get them to watch a game on their own. I mean, because the product isn't great. Last year's football team, as fun as it was to watch Thomas Castellanos, sometimes it was like nails on chalkboard watching that offense. It was like 4 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards. For us, that like just to see a team win, some of that was good, but otherwise it was brutal. And that's not going to get attention. BC needs to get some big wins, do things that BC never has done, in a long time. And you got a coach now that can do that. Bill O'Brien, he took a team, Penn State. And if you're younger and you don't know the story, it was bad. Penn State was in bad shape. No one wanted that job. He took them and made them respectable in terms of football. If he can do it there, he can do it here. And that's excitement, but that's also an obstacle because BC has been relatively irrelevant since 2007 or 2008. That's 15 years. That's a long time. But that's a big obstacle he's going to have to figure out, because in order to get BC to that next level, like you're treading water, it just doesn't feel like you're going anywhere. But in order to get more excitement, which will get you more NIL money, which will get you more recruits, which will get you everything that you want to build that program to go forward, you got to get interest. You can't have Alumni Stadium at like 40% capacity and whatever they say is sold tickets. People ain't showing up even if they buy them. And an empty stadium does not bode well for recruiting, and it doesn't show much. So Bill O'Brien has to figure out a way to get some excitement here, to figure out maybe to get college game day back. Maybe get this team to a level where they can do that. I mean, Adazio did it. Maybe he can do it. So that's another piece. Now, in our final segment, there's a big problem coming down the road. And it's not just facing Boston College, but Bill O'Brien's probably going to have to face this head on when it comes up. I'll explain what all that is in just a moment. College football and football are over, but you can get your buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 if your bet wins. Now, on yesterday's show, I got the date wrong. UVA and BC are playing tomorrow. I couldn't believe this on FanDuel. BC is a 1.5 favorite over Virginia. What? I'm surprised. I mean, BC beat UVA last year at home, but have you been watching BC? So if you don't agree with that, you can head over to FanDuel, as long as you're not in Massachusetts. And you can also make quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and more. So what you need to do is just go over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black. Thank you all for listening. And for you're an everydayer, I want to thank each and every one of you. If you have not done so already, hit that like button right now. And subscribe if you're not a subscriber. It doesn't cost you anything on Locked On YouTube, or if you hit like on whatever you get your podcast, that helps too. We've had a monumental month since Halfley quit on BC. And I want to continue that momentum because it's going to be fun around here. There's a lot of stuff going on. Now, the last piece, the last big obstacle in Bill O'Brien's face is that man right now. It's not that man right now. It's Mike Norvell on your screen if you're not watching on YouTube. Is Florida State. And the instability that is about to hit the ACC. Now, Florida State is kicking and screaming that they want to get out of this conference because they want more money, they want more money, they want more money. And they're not going to probably be the only one. And I feel like we're heading towards critical mass of when they're going to be able to figure out how to get out of this. Now, the grant of rights seems like it's bulletproof, and maybe it is. But the more recent stories sound like the ACC might actually be willing to negotiate with Florida State, which is not good. If that happens, Florida State could get out. And if they can figure out a way to wiggle out, Clemson's going to find a way to wiggle out. If they find a way to wiggle out, then UNC might also escape. You see what I'm saying here, folks? Bill O'Brien walked into a Power 5 job, one that he really wanted. But the Power 5 is now to the Power 4. And with things the way they're going, could it be the Power 3 soon? We're seeing the college football playoffs, a push from the Big Ten and SEC to get a disproportionate amount of playoff spots. It seems like things are heading in a very bad direction in terms of that. Now, will other things, other shoes fall? Could very well happen. But Bill O'Brien is in charge of a program right now that is not very attractive for conference realignment, that does not seem like a very, very desirable destination spot for any conference. And he's got to figure out a way to make BC palatable soon. The time is running out. Florida State's going to be able to get out soon. And the ACC could be very, very different before you know it. You could see teams like I've seen reconfigurations with Tulane, Rice, South Florida, not pretty stuff, but this is going to be BC's. It's going to be Blake James and Bill O'Brien's goal to figure out a way to make BC, competitive. Like the thought of how a program is perceived, excuse me, is very, very short-sighted. So if BC was out there and had a top 25 season, all of a sudden everyone talking about it is going to be like, oh, BC's going to be part of it because they're a good team. They played top 25 this year. But because BC's been so bad for a while, it seems like they may not have a seat at the table. So that's going to be a big obstacle. BC's got to get themselves going so that they're not left out. And Bill O'Brien is the coach to do that, but it's a big obstacle thrown right in his face. On tomorrow's show, we'll have more football to talk about. UVA and BC game is at 9 p.m. Folks, I love you. You know I love you here. But I am not waiting till 11 o'clock plus to record about a game that no one's going to really want to talk about. So I'm going to record either during the UVA game or before it. So sorry about that, but that's how a cookie crumbles. I need to get sleep, folks. So thank you all for listening. If you have not done so already, hit that like button before you head out. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Go over to Eagle Insider. Become part of our community. It's a great community. And another great community is here at Locked On BC. See all you commenters out there. Hope you come back tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.